Hey guys, I'm Natalie Hodge. Welcome to SnapComms, where we bring you news in a snap. Joining me today on this program, we have Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor, Mr. Ronald Berkeley. Thank you for joining us on this program, Mr. Berkeley.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now as we've been having discussions about the Public Service Transformation Initiative, talk to us about what we can look forward to coming out of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor.
So what we can look forward to coming out of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor, currently we have 6 departments that falls under the ministry. After the transformation is completed, we will have about 3 departments. This happens as a result of a merger between Land Registry and the Survey Department, and there's quite a bit of synergy there that we need to take advantage of. And a major part of that is our efficiency and the level of service that we provide to our customers. Also, we're looking at the splitting the Conservation and Fisheries Department in 2. So in essence, it ceases to exist as it is. Well, the Conservation and Fisheries Department will not exist anymore. The fisheries side of the Conservation and Fisheries will be merged with the Department of Agriculture to create a new department called the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries. And then the conservation side of the Conservation and Fisheries will come under the ministry proper to create a major unit called the Climate Change and Environment Unit. And we've been talking for quite a while, and we've been trying to get persons who may have an interest in running the fishing complex. The minister mentioned this several times in the House of Assembly and in other forums, that we're seeking to privatize that operation, because we just think that it's better to do so. In the ministry, the general feeling is that we need to create a climate where business can function, where business can operate, or where business can thrive, and just step back and allow that to happen, as opposed to the government doing that ourselves.
So these mergers will help to increase efficiency and customer service within the ministry?
Most definitely.
Okay, now the Minister for Natural Resources, Honorable Dr. Kedrick Pickering, made a recent statement in the House of Assembly in relation to labor. So what can we expect under the subject of labor in terms of transformation?
Okay, as far as transformation, as it relates to the Labor Department, in the past, and I'm sure many people can identify with this. When you hear labor, immediately you think about work permits. But labor is so much more than just a work permit. So what we're hoping is, while that remains a critical function and needed, obviously, since 65, possibly 70% of our workforce are imported labor, that remains very critical. But we have other areas of labor, inspection, dispute resolution, those kind of things that we want to bring to the fore, if you will, and allow somewhere in the back office, in a seamless process between immigration and labor, where the work permits will be processed. Still focusing on efficiency, customer service, all that kind of thing. But I would like to think 5 years down the road, when people hear labor, you're not even thinking about a work permit anymore, but you're thinking about so much more that the Labor Department can offer. So that is what we're working on coming out of this. And to propel us in that direction, we have agreed, Cabinet has agreed with us that we would change the name from just the Labor Department to Department of Labor and Workforce Development. Again, put in a bit more emphasis on what the department should be doing. So we're looking also at collaboration between the various institutions, the Ministry of Education. As a matter of fact, we've already started some of those with some technical type training for the recovery. So yeah, that's I think what we can expect coming out of this. And 5 years on the road, that is a mindset we would like. Again, we would like persons to have. When you hear labor, you're not automatically drawn to, well, all they do is process work permits, because that's not the case.
All right, well, I'm going to move back a bit to a point you mentioned earlier with the merger with agriculture and fisheries. What do we have, what does the ministry have in store for the food security in the BVI?
So what we have in store is a merger between the fisheries and agriculture. As I mentioned earlier, the fisheries side of the Conservation and Fisheries Department will be split off and merged with the Department of Agriculture, creating the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries. What we're hoping to achieve there, again, is take advantage of the synergy that exists between the two, and sort of move the department, this new entity that is, in a direction that 5 years from now, basically in terms of how I like to look at it, 5 years from now you'll see a department that has a better a grasp on the environment in general as it relates to fisheries, a better understanding of the fisheries stock that's available, a better understanding of the various species in the water. There might be a need to revisit the close season, because those are in place for a reason. A department that will be focused on, again, customer service in general, but in this particular instance, focus on getting our farmers to think of themselves as small business owners, and not necessarily just a farmer. And we think that if we get them to think in that manner, it changes things drastically, because the whole issue of food security within the context of the BVI, because as we understand, and I hope we do, that it's not going to be like 100%. We could think of this in terms of what percentage of our import we would like to produce locally. But that means as the number of farmers that are currently in the field, as they get older, we need to get younger persons, around the 30, 25, 35 age range to come in. But I think we would need to make it exciting for that to happen, and for persons to think of this as just like any other small business on Main Street. I could have a small business somewhere in an agricultural piece of land. We also will be focusing on a lot of education, getting farmers to understand good husbandry as it relates to the care of the animals, various planting techniques. One of the areas that we hopefully will get farmers to understand, especially the younger ones coming in, whatever impact we hope to make as it relates to our own food security and whatever that means to us in the context of the BVI, the technology has to be a part of it. And that's a better, we have a better opportunity, I think, to get the younger farmers to use technology in the production of food. Now, we have some traditional farming that's going on, that's doing quite well. And I think we've seen them around town for the most part, selling their produce, and they're doing quite well. But I think bringing, again, similarly to what we want to do with labor, getting people to think about the department in a new and fresh way, getting the staff themselves to stop doing the work, if you will, because we've heard over the years that the farming community have always felt that the department is competing with them. You growing cattle, we growing cattle, you growing tomatoes, we're doing the same, you growing peppers, we're doing the same, and it really didn't make a whole lot of sense, really. Back in, I guess, 1960s and 70s, maybe it did. In 2018, it doesn't. So we want to step back and provide a service that gets farmers up through more subsidy, more techniques and what have you, and let them do it. And again, moving back, if you will, from the production to a more regulatory stance, if you will, for the entire Department of Agriculture, which in 5 years' time, in terms of again, how we like to look at it in the ministry, that is the department that will emerge out of whatever we're trying to do here. It's not an easy thing because we're trying to do this, reduce from 6 down to 3 department and keep everybody on board. Right. So far, I think we've achieved that in some ways, but there's still a ways to go. We hope to go live hopefully sometime January 2019. In the next 6 months, there'll be a series of meetings, hopefully that will move us in that direction.
What can you talk to us about in terms of the fishing waters in the BVI?
Yes, the fishing waters, I guess without getting too technical, right now we have north of here to 200 nautical miles, which is literally up bordering with Bermuda, is what is referred to as the EFZ, Exclusive Fisheries Zone. We're working with the ministry proper and the Department of Conservation. We're currently working with our colleagues in the UK to transform that from an EFZ to an EEZ, an Exclusive Economic Zone, which gives us a bit more control over our fisheries waters, and that opens up, I think, the next 20-25 years, an entirely new space for us. I guess at that time we could talk about that some more, but that just in brief what that means and the benefit that I think we can derive from it.
Okay, talk to us about what specifically is in place to reduce the overall impact on the environment, specifically the coastline and the beaches in the BVI. Okay,
so this area is, if I could put it this way, quite near and dear to our heart. Maybe when we talk, we hope that the general public sort of gets it, in terms of where we're going. But that's all we have. We don't have anything else. I don't care how many 5-star hotels are built in the BVI. You don't come here to sleep. I mean, you could do that in your own beds. People come here to enjoy the environment. People go to Florida because of Disney World or Disneyland, depending on whether it's California or Florida. You go to the Opera House in Australia. And we have the number of examples that we could throughout where people go to enjoy these things. Not necessarily to enjoy a 5-star hotel. I mean, you want to be comfortable while you're there. But the point is, people come here to enjoy our environment. And we need to get the general public to understand. Filling in the salt ponds, dumping of garbage in the ocean is not good for us. It might seem that way now, but it's not good for us. So we are... while we're trying to legislate some of this, you can't legislate everything. I mean, you can't legislate everything. You just can't. But that said, hopefully by the end of this year, we will have in place an environmental law. Right now, it's in the consultative phase with an external consultant, an expert in environment. And we also looking at various policies, beach management policy, marine estate policy, that gives us a better a grasp, if you will, on what's happening in the environment and helps us in many ways to police, if you will, the environment, dumping of waste at sea. In that regard, we're looking at pump out stations for the yachts and whatever else. So I think, again, if you look at it in terms of how we have been looking at this in the ministry, 5-6 years down the road, we hope to have an environment, meaning in general, where anybody on the street would be so in tune with the environment and understand the importance of it. And when they see somebody littering, somebody in the ministry at that time will receive a call and said, Mr. John is out here dumping oil in the guts and that kind of thing. Because trust me, while we might be able to benefit currently, 2-3 generations down the road, and a generation is only about 30-35 years down the road, we're going to have some serious problems. There was a study done back, I think, in 2012, 2013, by the University of Amsterdam here in the territory, and they were able to determine that our beaches, the importance of our beaches to our environment brings in $194 million annually to our environment, and that's just scratching the surface. We have not even started exploring the coral reefs, the value of the coral reefs to the environment, the value of the mangroves to the environment. Right. And these are studies that we hope to keep building on, so that when we get up to speak and educate the public, it's not what we've said. These are the experts, if you globally, that have come in and said, look, this is what your environment contributes to your economy, and we need to take care of it.
All right, well, that's a lot of information there, and I think some very good initiatives within the ministry. So thank you so much for joining us on the program today, Mr. Berkeley.
Thank you so much for having me here.
All right, ready?
So what are we doing now?
I'm doing the ending again.
Oh, you're doing your
camera,
thing.
yeah.
So.
So you're gonna still remain.
Okay.
Thank you one more time.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us on the program, Mr. Berkeley.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, guys, there you have it. I'm Natalie Hodge signing off. Be sure to tune in for your daily feed of SnapComms, where we bring you news in a snap.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Twitter, and Facebook at BVI Government and Instagram at GIS-BVI.
SnapComms is brought to you by the Disaster Recovery Coordinating Committee, Government of the Virgin Islands.